Can you believe it's already May 12th? This season is flying by. I'm Jack Rapella from Cycle Drag. Joining me, it is a true pleasure to have Pro Stock Motorcycle Racer Extraordinaire, Mr. Chris Bostick, with us. Chris, thanks for coming on. First time on YouTube Vertical Live. Great to have you.
It is. Yeah, no, it's great to be here, Jack. Thank you for inviting me. And next time, give me a little more notice. I'll clean up a little better instead of just throw on one of my dirty shirts.
You're looking amazing with the signature hair. We know that. And yes, I am classic for giving everybody about 5 minutes notice.
Right.
I know that you and I had been trying to catch up for a long time because there's a lot going on and I haven't been in one place long enough to do any interviews, but I really want to talk to you about your brand new motorcycle because
Sure.
for those who do not know, you compete on the NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle Tour. You're with White Alligator Racing, Tim Kalungian's team. Last year you had a Suzuki Hayabusa. This year, you're coming out with a brand new bike. Tell me about that bike and what led to the decision to build a brand new motorcycle.
Sure. Well, let me clarify that a little bit. It's not a brand new motorcycle. It's a very successful motorcycle that has actually held national records before. So this motorcycle was built the same time, is my understanding, is the same time the motorcycle that Chase Van Sant is riding. So this motorcycle is a TL, just like Chase's. And it is the motorcycle that Karen Stouffer, a couple of years ago in Gainesville, ran that incredible 6.665 to set the national record on. So it's that bike. It does have a brand new body on it. The body was a little bit tired. It had some updating done, new airbox, new stuff, and it has our new engine. So my engine program is the exact same as Chase Van Sant's. And, it's like starting all over again, even though it's a bike that's been down the track several times. But we did have, an okay showing in Gainesville. And then Charlotte it was like gremlins kept appearing all over our pit area. I mean, we had some problems. Chase Van Sant had a little bit of problem. I had some problems on Friday. Jerry Savoy, for those of you that may have watched, it's the first time he's been back in a year and a
That
half
was
or
great to
more,
see him
2 years.
back. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
great. It's great to have him there. And he's such a great guy. But his bike wouldn't fire for some gremlin, just an
Mm.
unforeseen gremlin on Sunday for first round of eliminations. But to give you a little bit of story on what happened with our Charlotte race and then kind of where we're headed for the Chicago, we being me, Terry, my wife is already in Chicago. Her mother lives there. And so she surprised her mom for Mother's Day, but that was kind of cool. But we had on Friday in Charlotte, on Friday, we had 2 rounds of qualifying that the bike just was not performing. Went like a 724, which is not going to get you in the show if there's, more than 16 bikes, obviously. 724. And then second round of qualifying on Friday, we didn't go, but in the teens, 14 or 16, something, another horrible pass. And looking at the data, I actually rode the bike pretty well, hit the shift points on time, and it should have gone faster. And so Friday night they did some searching on that engine, and we actually put a different engine in for the Saturday qualifying. So first round of Saturday, we just had the base tune up in it. So first round of Saturday, we go a 692, which is great, right? Compared to 724. So we're obviously on the right path. Well, unfortunately, at that very moment of Q3, first round on Saturday, Chase Van Sant's bike wouldn't start and make the run. And so we get back to the pits. So we have Jerry's bike, my bike, and Chase Van Sant's. And of course, everybody is now focusing on Chase's bike to make sure that he can figure out what the problem was. And it was nothing obvious, and it was nothing that anybody did wrong. It was just I say we. They don't let me touch anything except for the shift button and the throttle. But the team, everybody that is on the team, they worked feverishly for the next couple of hours to figure out what was wrong with Chase's. They did figure it out and got Chase's ready to run. Well, about the time that now then Chase is ready to go and we're confident that his bike is going to go down the track, the officials came and called us, hey, you got to go. And so we didn't have time to really look at my fuel and map and all of the things that it takes to tune a Pro Stock motorcycle. And so we went back up, right, with the tune up that we had from round one. I say round one from Q3, which was the first round for the Saturday. And we ran a 692. And ironically, we ran in Q4 a 692 because nothing really changed. I mean, our 60 foot was a little bit better. The weather changed some, but we just didn't. We ran out of time to make the bike faster for that qualifying session. But fortunately, and here's why we're excited about Chicago. Fortunately, we had lots of time on Saturday, late afternoon and evening and Sunday morning Tim did have time to really look at the map and make some adjustments and so forth. And E1, so first round of eliminations, had we been able to make those adjustments before Q4, E1, I actually run a 684, right? So it picks up, almost a full tenth, which is huge. But unfortunately, I was in the quad. It's a 4 wide in Charlotte, so I had some guy named Matt Smith, and he's been around for a minute or two and goes pretty fast sometimes.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Now, Matt's a great guy. He's a good friend, but he actually ends up winning the race. So I had to run Matt, my teammate Chase Van Sant again. So since this countdown started for the 2024 season, that made the sixth time, and I think it was 5 in a row that I had to race my teammate first round. So, and I don't have a winning track record against Chase Van Sant, just for clarification, but and then I had Angie Smith as well. So I was in a pretty tough group, went the 84, but did not advance. That being said, we're on the path. And so the whole team is excited about what could happen and what will happen. And Chicago is my wife's hometown. And so her family's going to be there and friends are going to be there. And we're going to have a fun time. And I'm going to surprise a lot of people in Chicago because the focus is just everything that it takes, because my job literally is 90 seconds from the time the motorcycle starts in the water box until I am turning off of the end of the drag strip. You can take and you can time by a stopwatch any pro stock round, whether it's in qualifying or eliminations, and you're going to be within about 15 seconds of 90 seconds each and every time.
Very
So
cool.
my 90 seconds for Chicago, the 4 times that I get to do it in qualifying, and hopefully 4 times in eliminations on Sunday, is just the focus on each step, not trying to, I've got to win the race, or I've got to qualify better, but it's just to go through each single step one by one, from the burnout to lining up to making sure you're in first gear to watching every step in that 90 seconds has to be a focus. And I'm committed. Tim and I had a long conversation. He's not only is he a great motorcycle builder and tuner, but he's just a good life coach, and he's helped me a lot through some different things that just happen. Life happens,
That is
but I'm
awesome.
lucky to have him. And so we talked about it. So Chicago, look out, because Route 66. All right. Matter of fact, I'm going to turn my phone real quick. I live in a
Oh,
barn.
look at this.
For
We get a little
people that
tour
don't know.
of
So
Casa de
there's
Bostick.
there's my coffee cup. So
There it
we're
is.
ready for Route 66. But yeah, I literally live in a barn dominium. But it's kind of cool. So there's
That's a barn dominium. Oh my gosh, that is
yeah, so
posh. That's
there's a
beautiful.
motorcycle that we have up on the second floor that's in the kitchen area. I use that corner over there. Terry would be so mad at me, but she's in Chicago visiting her mom, so she can't get too mad. That's the area that you know should be clean, but it's not. But yeah, here's the barn, and
That is
just through this
beautiful.
door right here is our shop. And so
Whoa.
this is
Okay,
where
so
everything kind
let
of
me just
lives.
before you go any further, Chris, let me fill everybody in. If you guys are just joining us, we're live with NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle Racer Extraordinaire, Chris Bostick. Awesome dude. He's going to show us his shop in a second. Chris, I don't know if you can read the comments, by the way. I'm sorry. We have
Oh,
some
I can't.
comedians.
I'm
We have some comedians. We have some legends. Some of them are calling you Ric Flair. We do have the great Steve Rice, Make It Fit, Funny Bike legend. We got another guy, North Tide. I don't know what he wanted to know if apparently you and I are a couple. We are not a couple. We are friends. But
Nice.
a lot. The comments are in rare form today, shall we say.
Yay.
Guys, before we go any further, we got 6 likes on this video. Can everybody double tap the video to give it a like? Let's get over 100 likes for Chris Bostick. And Chris, thank you guys, the pride of Tennessee. Let's take a look. Why don't you show us around your shop, Chris, and tell us
Well,
what we're seeing?
it's again, you gave me about 5 minutes, and so it definitely was not clean. And me thinking that I was going to be showing anybody, much less.
It looks like we might have froze on the right for a second, Chris. You might have walked out of your Wi-Fi. Let's see. Yeah, I still got you. The screen is frozen though. We're frozen on the motorhome. You might have to do a screen refresh. And well, we can still hear you. I think if you go back into where the Wi-Fi was strong and flip the button back on you, it'll come back around. But man, it is still on the motorhome, unfortunately. Frozen. That's okay. Hey, you know what? This is the beauty of live. But Chris, man, that was awesome. It was so awesome to hear about what's going on. I understand we got some really big news coming up in a little bit. So, hey, there we go.
Right.
We're back with Chris Bostick,
Oh,
ladies and
there we
gentlemen.
are.
I think you probably that happens to me sometimes that maybe you have a dead spot out on a garage with
Maybe
Wi-Fi.
so. I can
But
flip it back around, just kind of stand at the edge, and
yeah,
that
okay, here
way
we go.
I'm not. So there's an office area, and it has some memorabilia. I started racing pro stock on the NHRA level in September of 2000 of 1999.
What a run. Amazing.
1999. Oh my gosh, that's a minute ago. But I was riding Ben Hatcher's motorcycle, CTS Offshore, and actually qualified. My very first national event, qualified, and then had to race on gel. My first pass in eliminations. But
Super
yeah,
cool.
we have some fun stuff. I don't know if you can see it, but I have about 12 sets of my old leathers that are hanging up there.
Wow. That's cool that
And
you get to keep those. Those are nice keepsakes. If
yeah,
you could show that picture though that you showed moments ago, this is kind of what I wanted to ask you about because this was kind of an interesting talker. Is that you had a Suzuki Hayabusa, and we know that right now that is the bike that Gage Herrera has been dominant on, and in fact, yours was built by the same guy who built Gage's bike. So that's why I was just curious
right.
when you switched to the TL 1000 this year. Was it a tough decision to go away from the bike that the two-time defending champ is using right now?
Well, here's the thing that made it easier for me and for us is that motorcycle, that one that you're looking at in this picture. That is almost identical twin to the bike that Richard Gadsden and Gage Herrera are currently successfully competing on. But every motorcycle is different. I mean, you can have two side by side, and if there's a quirk that you haven't yet figured out, or something's different with the airbox or the way that you build your map or whatever, you really need to have a long time to spend with one motorcycle. So that motorcycle that we're looking at right now has been a 102 60 foot, which is incredible.
Outstanding.
Yeah, that's only happened once, but it was consistently 103, 104. I was always in the top 1 to 4 places as far as 60 foot. And that motorcycle is the one that I've been the quickest on at 6.777. And that was in Sonoma, California this last year. So it's a good motorcycle. However, we wanted And Tim made a decision that I agreed with, that we would use a twin bike to our teammate Chase Van Sant's bike, to where whenever we are making some tuning calls, we have the same airbox, we have the same body design, we have the same literally everything. So
There he
we
is.
can use each other's data to help tune the bikes and get exact, you know, compare apples to apples instead of apples to oranges. But Tim Kalungian is a very smart man, very smart tuner. And if all he had to do was focus on that one bike of mine, he would make it as fast as he can go with any bike. It was a new bike for him last year. That was the first, full year that I had with him. And I made, so many changes on it I was throwing him curveballs all the time. We get to Indy and I added 10 pounds to the wheelie bar because I put a parachute on it. Well, you can talk to anybody that's ever tried to set up a chassis for a pro stock motorcycle. You put a 10-pound barbell on the back of it, and then you have to take the 10 pounds off somewhere else. That's going to make a big difference. And so, I threw him some curveballs, but he worked through it. We worked through it, and we're going to go fast on this bike that I'm riding now. That it's every bike has a nickname. Um, Chase Van Sant's bike is named Champ. It's called Champ because that's the bike that Jerry Savoy won the championship on in 2016. My Hayabusa that's sitting in Tim's shop, that is, I mean, it's a complete bike. It's ready to go, and Tim is doing some work on the engine. He's going to have my Monster Head engine on his dyno here shortly, and I'm going to have that bike available to rent. And I know that I've already got Malcolm Phillips scheduled to ride it for Dallas race, which is always a fun race. And so it's going to be fun to see how fast that motorcycle can really go, because Malcolm Phillips, if anybody knows Malcolm, he is an amazing motorcycle driver. And so it's going to go fast. But
Well, that's
the
great what you're doing,
Yep.
Chris. I love it. As you know, I'm a big fan of the class, and we are just a little bit worried about participation. So I think it's great that you're helping other people get involved. I saw the entry list for Chicago. It's at 15. I think
Right.
we were at 14 in Charlotte. What's the feeling amongst
We
the
actually
class?
had 15, but
15. Okay.
yeah.
Is anybody concerned about participation, or is there anything being done right now? I noticed there is some new blood coming in. It was great to see Braden Davis out
Yep.
there, and Aaron
Right.
Litton's son is out there. So it's nice to see some new names. What's the feeling on the inside right now on how to boost this thing? I did just see that unfortunately PDRA cut Pro Extreme Motorcycle, and some
I
have
saw that.
wondered, could some of those individuals come over, the Scott McKinneys, the Eric McKinneys of the world, the Growth Drag Bikes of the world? Could they potentially, the Chris Garner Jones, could they potentially come over to Pro Stock Motorcycle? What's the feeling right now in the class?
There's actually a lot of people. I say a lot of people. There's several people that are actively working on building pro stock motorcycles for NHRA. I know Joey Bramgart
That's another name for
is
sure.
building one, and the other names that you had mentioned, they are getting funding. They're getting some support behind them to help them out. I know Steve Johnson, just a day or so ago, I saw a Facebook Live or a post that he made talking about, you know, how easy it is for some of these people that have motorcycles that are always like, oh my gosh, NHRI, it's too much. It just takes a little bit of help from the right people that can help with some travel and such. But there's a lot of motorcycles. There's a lot of motorcycles that have been built, whether they're V twins or the Suzuki platform, that are and could be competitive. So you don't have to spend the money that it takes to buy a brand new bike. To buy a brand new motorcycle, somebody was asking, what does it cost to actually race in pro stock motorcycle?
That's a great
If,
question.
if you spent the money and you ordered a brand new pro stock motorcycle, and I'm not talking out of school, from Vance and Hines, the motorcycle, the complete wiring, the computers, one engine, everything ready to go is a little over $200,000. So that's expensive. However, there are so many good chassis that are out. I've got, I have a motorcycle that I take, most of you know, to the races as a display bike that's hooked up to a full Christmas tree, and people get on it. And that was a bike that I competed with, several years ago. And it's an older motorcycle that you could buy for, I'd take probably less than $30,000 for it. But it is a motorcycle that could compete, could qualify and compete at an NHRA event.
Are you tempting me, Chris? Are you tempting me over here? I think I'm too
Well,
heavy though. I'd probably have
I
to
say
lose
that
some weight.
because Malcolm Phillips rode that motorcycle in Dallas last year or the year before and qualified well. And that motorcycle is an older Gucci motorcycle. It was the motorcycle that George Bryce built he had a program called the Star Challenge
I remember that. Yeah,
many years
I
ago. And
remember that.
whoever won the Star Challenge got to, take and go to an NHRA event. Well, that's the motorcycle that I bought from George Bryce. And it's, the way that it's set up, and anybody that knows George Bryce, he's got a ton of those little guys that, are gold standing next to a tire. I think they call them Wallies. I don't know
Oh
for sure
yeah.
because I
Oh
don't
yeah.
have one,
Yeah.
but
Who
he
George
has,
lives not too far from you now, right? Tennessee, you
George is
guys
like,
close?
he's like 2 miles from me.
Oh, there you go.
Look,
Perfect.
shorter than that if you go as a pro flies, but
Uh-huh.
yeah,
That's super cool. What a
I see him
coincidence.
every once in a while. Yeah.
Well, we got 184 people watching live right now. Chris Bostick is our guest, NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle Superstar. If you guys have a question for him, leave them down below. They're all calling you Ric Flair, so we might have to get a woo, and
That's
we might have
funny.
to get some.
Okay, so here I've got to tell you,
Okay.
and I'm not going to. I mean, I allude to what it is, but there's a big announcement that we're going to have at Chicago, but it's a new business, huge, a national company that will be announced, and I will be a big part of it. But it kind of does have to do with the Ric Flair look.
That is
So
awesome. I'm excited. I know that, hey, we
it's going
know
to be cool,
cubic dollars is what it takes. So any marketing partners you can bring, I'm happy to help you
right?
publicize. Because again, I
Right.
just think it's so wonderful that you're out there. You have quite a unique story in that you ran from like 99 to 02-ish, and then
Yeah.
you
2004, I think, was the last time that I rode before I retired
before you
and went to
retired.
work. Yeah,
And then
I
you
retired
returned
from
for
NHRA.
what was supposed to be one race back in 2018, right? Supposed to be
It
one race.
was.
That was
Yeah.
maybe smart marketing how you talked your lovely wife into it. But she said, "Yeah, we're out
She's
here for one." And then man, you haven't stopped. So I love it. So
yeah.
my question to you is what is it that has you hooked into this class? I can see how fun it is, how competitive it is, but obviously the other side of that, we know it's super expensive. What keeps
Right.
you going in this ultra competitive and expensive
Really?
class?
Yeah, Jack, that's a really good question. The reason that you just keep getting drawn back to it year after year and spending the amount of money that it takes, and thank God to the Surf, they've helped me out financially some this year, and they have been a partner, and I really appreciate them. But whenever you're at these national events, it's not just the competitors that you race with, because I mean, there's some, clashes every once in a while, but all in all, everybody gets along really well. And when we go to the starting line, whether it's qualifying or elimination, it's like the friend zone is turned off and it's everybody for themselves. But in the evenings and so forth, it's very good camaraderie. But the thing that warms my heart more than anything is when fans come up and you engage with them and you can share something that might help change their life, because you never know what you might say to a young man or a young boy or a young girl that could, truly change the trajectory of where they're headed or what they're going to end up doing. And anybody can do anything in the world as long as they believe in themselves and they focus on it, and they want to do it. I mean, So
Very,
that's
very true. And something
yeah,
that ties right into that I wanted to talk about that just nails your point home is you see these leathers hanging here. That is the late, great Dave Schultz, who had such a big impact on me. I was a young boy watching Dave Schultz, John Myers, and they were both such awesome guys. And you're 100% right. Those interactions when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, that's maybe why I have cycle drag right now. That's part of the reason why. Speaking of Dave Schultz, I don't know if you've been following on Cycle Drag Facebook, but I wanted to ask you about this story I've been covering on Marketplace. One of Dave Schultz's
right.
bikes from 1993 popped up. It was displayed at a bar in Orlando, Florida called Race Rock. I saw
Yeah,
it about 7 weeks ago. It was covered in dust and they were blowing it out for like $7,000. Well, I just missed it because I wanted to do a story on it. This past Friday, it showed up again. Now it's all cleaned up. The new owners are asking like 12.5 for it. So I said, I got to get to the bottom of this thing. And I took a motorcycle ride to Orlando on Saturday. This is a video
okay.
that's going to be coming on this channel, by the way. And we looked at the bike, and man, this thing, it's got an interesting story behind it where we're still trying to get to the bottom of it. It looks very period correct. We believe it is an authentic Cosman Pro Stock motorcycle chassis. It has a show bike motor in it where there's
Right.
no crank, no internals or anything like that. But we're trying to figure out exactly what it is. And the one person I thought may know is Meredith Schultz, who is Meredith de Glopper Schultz, now married to
Sure.
the great Earl
Yep.
de Glopper.
Right.
And they're doing a little bit of research on this bike. And I'll tell you, Chris, it could be a piece of history for somebody. They think that this may have been a motorcycle that Dave Schultz raced, and then kind of like how you just switched bikes, it might have
Right.
been in his transition era that they said normally if Dave was doing a display bike, he could just put a body on a top gas bike and give it away.
Right.
But they said Race Rock actually paid for this motorcycle. So
That is
Dave,
funny that you say that, Jack. I can add to your story and
well,
give
let's
you
hear
some
it.
history.
Let's hear it.
So I used to live in Orlando,
Okay. Wow, you might
and
know.
yeah, and I remember when that bike was displayed in Race Rock, and I was there, and I sold one of my first pro stock motorcycles to the same company, to Race Rock.
Wow.
And that motorcycle, even today, is in a glass display case in West Palm Beach or Palm Beach in a McDonald's. There's a McDonald's that has, and they've changed the color. I had it. Matter of fact, I had the helmet that I wore on the refrigerator outside. But they have that bike in, and there's a plaque saying that it was my pro stock motorcycle, and that was during the same era that that bike Dave Schultz had was sold. And so, yeah,
It's
I've
amazing
seen
how all
that
these
bike,
bikes
and
are
I
popping up
know
too.
from that, from looking at that bike, it's a real deal pro stock motorcycle chassis. So
That's
even as
cool.
old as it is, it could probably be resurrected for $12,000. Oh my gosh,
Twelve
somebody
thousand
today.
dollars is what they're asking. I think they've even come
Right,
down off of that. Here's the kicker too, where I told them, I said, "You guys got a real valuable piece." They have a mannequin with race worn leathers and a helmet of Dave's. I
right.
said, "That's probably 2,500, 3 grand to the
Sure,
right collector with
sure.
authentic Dave Schultz leathers that was actually worn in the race."
Right.
Guys, if you're just joining us, do me a favor. Everybody, right now, double tap your screen, hit thumbs up. Let's drive these likes up. We got Chris Bostick with us for a few more minutes. We appreciate his time. He's getting ready for race number 3 of the NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle Tour, Route 66 Nationals going down in Chicago. And we are just talking to Chris about his new bike. Now, Chris, here's the big question. Old bike,
Yes,
your career best, 199 miles an hour, 677. How long do
correct.
you think it'll take you to get there on this new Suzuki TL 1000?
All right. I am not going to be surprised whatsoever if I post my first 200-mile-an-hour pass in Chicago.
Wow.
And I believe, because I saw the graph of the pass that I made when I went the 684 first round of eliminations in Charlotte a couple weeks ago. And that bike has so much more. So much. I didn't do as good a job as had I rode that bike on Sunday as well as I rode it on Friday. It would have been a low 80 or a high 70, just because I was on the rev limiter in first gear, which kills which kills your front half. So hit the rev limiter in first gear, and then whenever I put it into fourth gear or into fifth gear, there was a bump. Tim described it as sometimes there's a bump on the track. The motorcycle, the computer, and a wheel speed can trigger a sensor that the bike thinks that it's in uh, a next gear. And so I'm waiting. It's in fifth gear, and I'm like, man, this is like waiting, taking so long for the light to come on to shift to sixth gear. Well, the next thing I know, I'm on the rev limiter and the bike is nosing over. That's why it only went 194 miles an hour with that 684. The bike thought that it was already in sixth gear, and so I did not get a shift light to put it into high gear. And I'm a better rider. I should have just plugged it because I could feel that it was starting to nose over, and so I should have pushed the button before it hit the rev limiter. But knowing those two things and seeing the pass that it made, I am not going to be surprised to see a time slip that has a 6.7 something and a mile an hour that starts with a 2.
That
Yeah.
is so awesome. I can't wait. Guys, before we go to, if you have any questions for Chris Bostick, slip them in. I'll try to get to a couple questions. One question I have for you, Chris, if you could describe to our fans out there, is I know you've ridden a lot of different motorcycles. I have one here behind me, Gen 3 Suzuki Hayabusa that has, great wheels, brakes, suspensions. Your motorcycles, it's just amazing. I hope everybody gets an opportunity to sit on them, just how light they are and what it feels like in that cockpit. What's it like going 199 miles an hour on a motorcycle that doesn't quite have Hayabusa suspension on it?
Well, there is no suspension on. And there's only 2 inches of suspension on the front. So fortunately, like the tracks come together as you look at a distance. But whenever you leave the starting line, you're on this big, wide starting line that is designed for cars to go down, and you're a motorcycle. Well, and the reason that you find a target at
Very cool. Chris, have you changed location? You're frozen again, Chris. Or you hold on, we'll see if we can get Chris back. It's some of that Tennessee Wi-Fi. You never know. That's okay though. We do. This is great stuff you're giving us, so I appreciate it. And we got to get you on again. We certainly can. But let's just see. Maybe we'll get lucky. If you guys are just joining us, hopefully you can hear me and see me okay. This wonderful man is Chris Bostick of the NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle Tour, getting ready for Chicago. It's been great to hear about his new bike. Just switched from a Hayabusa to a TL 1000, and Chris is hunting down wins this year. He's just took some time out of his busy schedule here in Tennessee to chat with us a little bit. Right now, unfortunately, frozen, but that's okay. We'll see if Chris comes back. Chris, can you still hear me?
it's
Oh, there we go.
yeah.
You're back. You're
Oh,
back. Perfect.
well,
Okay,
I
go ahead.
haven't really moved, and I'm way out in the country. So I'm on 10 acres out in the middle of about 10, 15 miles outside of Nashville. And
Gotcha.
so my Wi-Fi is Starlink, which works,
Oh,
but the receiver is at the other end of this 100-foot building.
There you go.
So
First world problems right there.
I know, right?
That's okay, man. I appreciate it though. This was great chatting with you. I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule. I'm going to let you off the hook, but we want to catch up with you after Chicago, that's for sure, and get a
Yes.
full update. And Chris, anything else you'd like to add? Anybody you'd like to thank here? We know, like you said, you got a big sponsor on the horizon. We'll break that news, but anybody you would like to thank or anything you'd like to add here before we go?
Well, just all the people that work so hard back at the shop. Chris Parker and Rick Elmore, they are the two technicians that are assigned directly to
Great
my
guys.
motorcycle at
Great
the
guys.
at the event. And literally, they don't want me touching anything. And so they do. Literally, I get off the motorcycle as I'm rolling into the pit, and Rick is there waiting, and I step off, and he takes the bike and he puts it back in, and they service it to get it ready. But love those guys. Of course, Tim Kalungian is amazing. Keith Nichols is there. He's a pivotal part of our
Where did Keith
crew.
come from? I've been seeing Keith for so many years.
You
He's
know, Keith actually was on Matt Smith's team for a while.
I thought, yeah, he's been out there for a long
Yeah.
time.
And he builds really fast engines for a lot of the people like running some of the other divisions. He races 460 himself. He actually
Okay.
won 3 or 4 weeks ago one of the 460 races. I don't know exactly which one it was, but yeah, great guy, very good engine builder, good tuner in his own right, good rider in his own right. And then, just to be associated with Chase Van Sant and Bruce and Chase's mom, they're just genuine good people. I'm blessed and honored to not just know them, but to be able to race with them and be on the same team. I mean, it's
Sure.
it's it's cool. And then so thanks to the surf, I appreciate them. Thanks to Terry for putting up with it.
Gotta
I
thank
told her it
her.
was going to be one race, and here we are now, seeing a lot of country. And I'm just
Wife of the
feeling, oh my
century.
gosh, it's going to be great. We're going to travel all over the United States and see all. We'll go to the Grand Canyon, and well, we were at the Grand Canyon for about 5 minutes, and I go, there it is. Okay, let's go. So all
Well,
fun.
NHRA is pretty smart with how they market these races. Chicago is really Joliet, and there's not a whole lot of lovely ladies that want to go to Joliet. I always laugh on tour.
Right.
All the girlfriends and wives seem to show up when it's Vegas time. They love that one.
Sure.
And holy
Yeah.
moly, Chris, we got to give a big shout out. Steve Rice, Funny Bike legend, sending us $10 down
Yay.
below. Way too kind, not expected. Thank you, Steve Rice. Can't wait to see you again. Steve, by the way, if you get bored this weekend, text me. I wish I was could be at two places at once, but I'll be in Glen Helen, San Bernardino, California. 4 days of Moto Fest. They're going to have Baja drags. There will be drag racing off the starting line. That all goes down San Bernardino, California. So, Steve, if you want me to put you on the gate list, you just text me. They'll be running Friday will be the Baja drags that you might be very interested in. So thank you, Steve. And thank you, Chris. You are
You're
awesome, my
welcome.
friend. Looking
No,
forward.
thanks for having me on your show.
No, awesome, man. Like I said, good luck, and we'll figure out the Facebook thing too. We'll get you on there after Chicago. I'm sure
Okay.
Terry will be able to figure it out. Just give her your phone when you get there.
I don't know.
But
Terry doesn't even have her own Facebook account. She's kind of private like that. But
good
all
stuff,
good.
man. Well, thank you so much. Ride safe and bring home that Wally, man. I want to see it. That would be great story
That'd
on
be
Cycle
great.
Drag. Chris Bostick brings home the hardware.
That'd be great. Thank you,
Awesome.
Jack. Appreciate all you do. Thank
You
you.
got it, man. Appreciate you. Have a great day. Thanks
Thanks.
for watching, everybody. We'll be back with more. Get your shirts, cycledragshop.com, and get subscribed because we got that Dave Schultz bike feature coming up on this channel that you're going to want to see. Good luck, Chris.